Hello and welcome to this tutorial in Premiere Pro. I'm Luisa Winters. I would like to go over how to create a new project, how to set the configurations for that particular project, in other words, the project settings, and of course, how to import some files and create a new composition. Let's get to it. When you first open Premiere Pro, you will be presented with this screen. Let's go ahead and click on the button that says New Project. Now in here, you can set where you're going to save the project and what you're going to name it. I'm going to click on the Browse button here, and I'm going to create a new folder on the desktop, and I'm just going to call it Premiere Pro Training. And I'll click on Create. Now I can click on the button that says Choose, and I can give my project a name. Tutorial 01. And here we go. Now, you're going to see that this panel has three tabs: General, Scratch Disks, and Ingest Settings. Let's go over General. The first thing here is the video rendering and playback, and we have a renderer here that says Mercury Playback Engine GPU Acceleration Metal. And if we click here, you're going to see that there are other choices. There is the OpenCL, and then of course the Mercury Playback Engine software only. You might see different choices when you go to this place in your own system, because these choices depend on what you have installed in your system, in other words, in your hardware. So for example, this is a Mac. On my Windows system, I have different options in here. In this particular case, I'm going to choose Metal, which is what was selected, because a lot of the effects that I'm going to use will be hardware accelerated. In other words, I won't have to render. So let's go over the other settings. The video, the display format is going to be timecode. That's what I want. I don't want feet and frames or anything like that. For the audio, I really want the audio samples, not milliseconds, and most people want that as well. And if I were capturing from tape, I would choose either HDV or DV, and if I had other hardware installed in here, I would see those choices in here as well. Alrighty, let's go to the next tab, which is Scratch Disks. In other systems, I actually have this going to different hard drives, and this used to be very, very important. In other words, the performance of your systems was really dependent on where you sent these files. But nowadays, it's not that important because the hard drives have gotten a lot faster. So we don't have to worry about this one too much. Besides, I am working on a laptop, so I'm going to leave everything at same as project. But it's worth mentioning a couple of the options in here. For example, capture video, capture audio. If you were capturing, say, from tape, this is where they would go. Video and audio previews. So if you were rendering something, this is the location of those render files. Of course, because I'm using the Metal Mercury Playback Engine acceleration, I'm going to have to render very little. In future tutorials, you're going to see that some things need to be rendered, but most of them don't. Project autosave. So if you forget to save something, hey, this is where Premiere is autosaving the projects for you. CC libraries download, and of course, motion graphic template media. I have it going to the same as project, but keep in mind that if I were downloading something that I wanted for other people to access, I may want to send this to a shared drive or something like that. Anyway, I'm not going to change anything, but I just wanted to tell you what these options were. The third tab here is for ingest settings. I'm going to cover ingest settings in a future tutorial, just not right now. We're not going to be using any kind of proxies or any kind of ingest, so we're just going to import files. So here we go. Let's go ahead and click OK, and then Premiere per se opens up. And when Premiere opens, it looks like this. As you can see, I am already in an editing workspace. So if this is the first time that you open Premiere, chances are that it's going to go into a learning workspace, but that's okay. I'm going to change back to editing, and if you're following along with me, you go ahead and do the same. So you can click on this editing word here, or you can just go Window, Workspaces, and choose Editing. And this is the editing workspace, and this is how I would like to start. So the first thing that we need to do is talk about the workflow in Premiere Pro. So you import some assets or you create some media in here. For example, text is created in here. There's some lower thirds, some graphics that you can create in here. But generally speaking, you're going to import some files. So let's go ahead and do that first. For that, we go to File, Import. We can also use the shortcut Command I, which is Control I on Windows. This opens the import dialog, and I'm going to go to the desktop where I have already some files in here. And in here, I'm just going to mention that you don't have to have the same files that I have. You can use your own. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to import some things. For example, I'll do the boats. So boats 1 through 8. I select them, and then I click on the Import button. And now we can see the files in the project panel, which is this panel here on the bottom left side of the screen. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the files that we're seeing here. We're seeing an icon view, and if you just hover with your mouse on top of one of them and then you move the mouse back and forth, you're going to see a preview of what the file is. This is known as hover scrub. And if it's taking a lot of system resources, you can shut it off. But I actually find it really convenient because I don't have to preview my files in any other way. I just do a little bit of a hover scrub and I know exactly what the file is. So super convenient. On the bottom left-hand side of the project panel, you're going to see these icons. This one here is for the list view. And you can hover your mouse on top of it and you're going to see the pop-up. In other words, the tooltip come up just saying List View. So I'm going to go ahead and click in there. Notice that it's giving me more information. It's giving me the frame rate, the media start, the media end, duration, video in point, out point. So for example, I see here the resolution, in other words, the frame size, and I see that these files, all of them are 3840 by 2160, so they are Ultra HD. If I wanted to see the information on these clips a little bit differently, I can always click on the panel menu of the project panel and go to Preview Area. As soon as I click there, you're going to see that a new icon opens up and it gives me information on whatever clip I happen to have selected. For example, in this one, I have Boats 01 selected and it's telling me that it's video, 3840 by 2160, square pixels, the duration, and of course, the frame rate. If I had used this already in a sequence, in other words, if I had edited with it already, it'll tell me how many times it has been used and in which sequences. So the preview area is quite convenient. If I click on any of them, you're going to see very similar information about the only thing that changes here is the duration of the clip. So let's go ahead and create a sequence so that we can put these clips already into a sequence. To create a sequence, we go File, New, Sequence. And then we can choose from these presets. But you know what? That's not the most convenient way of creating a sequence. So instead, I'm going to right-click on one of these clips and choose New Sequence from Clip. And now I get the clip inside of the sequence, and of course, it created the sequence for me. Of course, it gave the name of the clip to the sequence. So I can actually click on the name again, and you see that it becomes highlighted, and I can type whatever name I want for this sequence. For example, I'll call it Florida Video, and then dash training tutorial. And that's going to be the name of my sequence. I'm going to delete this clip from my sequence because I really don't want it there right now. I only used it to create the sequence so that the clip would match the sequence, or rather the sequence would match the clip. To add the clips to the sequence, all I have to do is select them and drag them to the sequence. This, of course, is drone footage, so I want you to notice that these represent the video side of things, and I don't have any audio. We're going to discuss adding music, voiceover, and any other audio on a future tutorial, but not right now. So I want to make sure that we understand that these rectangles that we see here are the visual representation of video, but not audio. So continuing, if I want to play the timeline, I press the space bar. If I want to stop or pause the timeline, I press the space bar again. I can now trim these clips however I want, I can rearrange them, etc., etc. Okay, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.